Hello, I'm Vicki and I'm the dyer behind Songbird Yarn Fibres. I have a small shop and dye studio in Stratford, Ontario, which is about an hour and a half west of Toronto. I dye bird-inspired yarn in small batches on several different bases. I also give $2 a skein to Birds Canada for all my bird-inspired yarns and hat kits and tote bags and a few other items. Let's take a quick tour of my shop and I'll show you around. Okay, so my dyeing station. I start off with a bucket of water for soaking my yarn. I try to soak my yarn overnight if I'm organized enough. Sometimes it doesn't get soaked for a full 24 hours, but I do try. Then I have my induction burners. I have 3 of them, and they're doubles, so I can do 3 pans at a time with usually 3 skeins. Sometimes I use 2 sets of burners and 6 skeins across 2 pans, depending on what I'm dyeing. I have beautiful stainless steel tables, which is lovely for keeping them clean. They clean up really nicely. You can see on my wall I have some spice containers, which I keep some dye mixed with citric acid and a little bit of salt that I use for my speckling. I don't do a ton of speckling, but when I do, I can keep it up there for the most part pre-mixed, ready to go, so I don't have to work right out of the dye containers. There's my Dharma colors that I have quite a few of them. You can see some pre-mixed dye there. I use all sorts of different containers for pre-mixing. I've got a nice big stainless steel sink and some storage above. And then at this end is all my pre-mixes and my powders. So I use orange juice containers, I use old milk containers, I have some water bottles that I've reused. I mix my dyes at a 2% solution. Some of them are custom colors that I've mixed 3 or 4 different dyes together. Some of them are straight out of the powder. I have a scale that I measure so that I'm measuring the same amount each time when I mix my dyes to keep them consistent, so that most of my dye lots are pretty consistent. I wouldn't say that any of them are exact, but I do measure all my dyes fairly carefully and try to dye at the same temperature, etc. from time to time. So as far as indie dyeing goes, I try to keep them pretty consistent. So then next I have rinsed my yarn. So I just rinse it in cold water. A little bit of dish soap. I give it a good... And then I place my wet yarn in my spinner. My lid on. Got a bowl underneath. And I let her go. And it works for 5 minutes and it gets 99% of the water out of it, so it's pretty dry. Then the last thing I do to get them dry is I separate them into single skeins from their zip tie. I give them a good snap. So I take the yarn and I give it a good snap first to get all the twists and tangles out, and hang them up on their hooks individually. And low tack, I start a fan. If it's a nice day out, I'll wheel my dryer outside and dry them outside, but I'm in a little windy corner, so I can't do that quite as much as I'd like to. But I just start my fan, and I usually leave them overnight. This is one of my favorite parts. Everybody has their favorite tools. This is one of mine. So I take my dry yarn. This is a skein of LBJ. I dyed it yesterday, so it's all dry. And I put it on my skein winder, my skein twister. Sorry, not winder, twister. And I twist it until it's tight, stop it, fold it in half on itself, tuck it in, and I have a finished skein. And then I keep all my tags in a drawer. I have the old teacher in me, and I mark the lot numbers and tape them on, and I have a finished skein ready to go out the door. Okay, now for front of store. So as you come in, I just have a little maybe 10 by 15 area at the front of the store. I've got some samples that I've knit up to show some of the yarns. There's my Steve & West Slipstravaganza from last year's make-along. I start with my sock weight. So I've got a fairly good stock in the store all the time, but on the website I always have lots in stock, and I'll dye it to order. I also have my nestlings, which are my mini skeins in lots of different colors, and they're 25-gram skeins. Then next to it, I've got my worsted weight. And again, I have I have one or two of each in stock, but if somebody needs more than one skein for a project, I'm happy to dye it for them. This is one of my newest colorways. This is the King Ryder. He's got lots of beautiful little blues and orange speckles and some salmony highlights in him. And my other new colorway is right here, which is the little blue heron. And he's got some really deep purple and some lighter, maybe iris coloring. And then he's got some gold speckling in the middle for his yellow legs. And that's him. He's a dapper little fellow. My website has all the listings by bird, and then within the bird it defines it by weight. So my 4 weights are fingering weight and worsted weight. And then on the other wall, I don't want to make you dizzy by moving too quickly. On the other wall I have sparkle sock, which is a fingering weight, and I have bulky. And again, I don't have that much in stock here, but I'm happy to always dye it, and I can usually turn it around in a day or two for anybody that orders it. So I only usually keep 1 or 2 in stock. Once shows get started again and we're going out to see people and there's more people around to be buying yarn, then I will dye bigger batches. But right now I'm usually just keeping 2 or 3 of everything in stock. I have lovebirds, which are really fun. So lovebirds are coordinated sets of male and female plumage. So this is a wood duck, and so you get the male wood duck and the female wood duck. And they are coordinating, so they have colors in common, but they also feature the male plumage and the female plumage. Another one is the indigo bunting. So you've got the male indigo bunting is the really deep blues and grays, and the female is much softer browns and grays with a little bit of blue from that shows in her tail. You can see that they come in 115-gram sets, so you get a full 2 skeins of sock yarn, or in smaller 50-gram sets. So you'd get a pair of socks out of this, 1 sock in the female and 1 sock in the male. I also have a somewhat limited supply, but a supply nonetheless, of Chiagu interchangeable needles and some Chiagu crochet hooks. I have a couple of full sets of interchangeables and double pointed needles. I have a different assortment of cables and some stitch markers and stoppers and cable connectors, etc. I have a couple of nice places to sit. So a nice comfy chair there, and another nice comfy chair by the window. So once COVID is over and people can start coming into the store, they're welcome to come in and sit and knit. Over here I have a collection of different solids. So I can put together hat kits, which are a collection, which are a set of a variegated colorway and a solid that go together. So this is Goldie and Finch and a dark orchid. And they work really well with the woolly wormhead patterns, which are here. There's a few of them here. And I give you a pattern code with the purchase of the hat kit. So you can purchase any of her hats. And they're all laterally made. They're very cool. They're very fun to knit. And I would say they're mild intermediate. They're not too difficult, even though they look fantastic when they're knit. This is called that's the Class Star. It's a lot of fun. And so I do have an assortment of some solids, and I'm happy to dye to order as well to bolster that supply. I have a feather base, which is a mohair silk, and it's beautiful, soft and fuzzy, and it's great for holding double with fingering weight to make a DK for lots of the different sweater patterns. I have dye to order. I can do 50-50 silk merino. I can also do lace weight. But they are dyed to order. I have some cute little sock blockers that are available on my site. And I also have my little cheeky totes, boobies, peckers, and tits, oh my. So a blue-footed booby, flicker, which is a woodpecker, and a blue tit. So they're kind of fun, and they just have my logo on the back of them. And if you purchase sock blockers, hat kits, or the bags, I also donate to Birds Canada for all those purchases as well. Thanks for joining me on my dye studio tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I wanted to mention that I do have a special for the Frolic. There's no coupon necessary. From 9 a.m. on Friday until 11:59 on Sunday night, July 25th. If you place an order on my website for over $80, you will automatically receive a shipping offset of $12 towards your order. There's no coupon you needed. It'll just automatically deduct $12 when you check out. I'm hoping that this makes it a little more attractive for shopping online as opposed to being able to go into a bricks and mortar. But on the other hand, if you're in Stratford, I would love to have you come down and visit me and see what I have as well. You can find me online at www.songbirdfibres.ca. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at Songbird Fibres.